Design and Manufacturing, Jabalpur, India. Title of this thesis is Development and Performance Evaluation of Pallet-Based Additive Manufacturing Process for Flexible Part Fabrication. He completed BTech in Mechanical in the College of Engineering and Rural Technology, Uttar Pradesh. He has more than 11 years of teaching experience, and he won Best Paper Award for the paper titled on 3D printing 2D digital image at NIT. First prize in poster presentation by IEEE chapter. Outstanding reviewer award by Elsevier for reviewing the manuscript for the Journal of Manufacturing Process. Paper titled on the surface finish improvement in hybrid additive subtractive manufacturing process, listed in the most downloaded articles. And he is the reviewer for reputed journals like Springer, Elsevier, Sage, Emerald, and he published more than 21 research articles in various international and international conference and journals. He gave many invited talks about 3D printing and retrofitting of CNC machines. With this short introduction, I welcome Dr. Narendra Kumar for this section.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for my introduction. So first of all, good afternoon to my dear participants. So today I'm going to cover the topic direct pellet extrusion based additive manufacturing, research scope, challenges and case studies. So I'll tell you why these pellet based additive manufacturing systems are required nowadays and what we can get from this system. So before I start my talk, I am really thankful to the Government College of Technology, Coimbatore, for inviting me for this talk. Can we hide this? Yeah. So these are my presentation outline. Ma'am, can you see my screen? Hello.
Sir.
My screen is visible to you?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So these are my outlines for presentation. So first, I am going to give you idea about additive manufacturing. Then I will cover some of the challenges which we face with fused filament fabrication technique. Then I will highlight the necessity of pellet-based additive manufacturing system. Also, I will discuss the advantages offered by the pellet-based additive manufacturing system. Then I have some case study on which I have already worked on. So I will share those study and then I will tell you the opportunity is where from you can get some idea and also you can start your own research work. If you are doing MTech and PhD, then these topics can be good to you. Then also I will discuss future scope related to the pellet-based additive manufacturing system. So what is additive manufacturing? What is additive manufacturing? So as you are already aware with this process because it's fourth day of FDP. So most of the speakers I might have covered this topic, additive manufacturing. So I will give you a brief idea. Then after I will move forward toward the pellet-based additive manufacturing system. So what is additive manufacturing? So according to this ASTM F42 standard, it is a process of joining materials. The process of joining materials to make objects from 3D model data. So means 3D model data should be there, and then we can make the objects by just joining the materials in the form of layers. So there is already a standard means for the additive manufacturing. So standard name is ASTM F42. So they have already standardized the definition of additive manufacturing. So it's a digital fabrication technique. So it takes a model. So model means nothing but the 3D model data. Okay. So if we have this data, then we can turn this data into reality or into the physical object. So here in this picture, can we hide this? Is there any option to hide this particular? Hello? Hello? Yes. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you see my screen, sir? Can you confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so it's a means digital fabrication. You can see in this picture, we have a model. Okay, so initially there was a model, and then we have converted it into reality or physical object by just adding the material in the form of layer. So you can see how we are adding layer, how this part is forming gradually along the Z direction. Okay, so this is the final object. Can anyone tell me how to hide this particular option of the zoom? Can I hide it? Is there any option to hide this?
Which one, sir?
This one, ma'am. This actually it is hiding my text. This. This one, ma'am. No. Okay. No worry. Okay. So what is the process chain of additive manufacturing? So process chain is the first we prepare a CAD model. Then after we move to the tessellation. So tessellation is nothing but the approximation of the CAD surfaces by using triangles, right? Then after we move to the slicing, then after we generate tool path, then after we go for part fabrication, then if post processing required, then we apply the different post processing technique on the printed parts to get the desired geometry. So okay, so this is the process chain of additive manufacturing. And what the different types of additive manufacturing techniques available. So here I have categorized the different additive manufacturing techniques based on the principle of making objects. So first principle is the material extrusion. Second is the wet photopolymerization. And third is the powder bed fusion. And then next is the material jetting. And then we have binder jetting process. Then we have another means powder bed fusion for metals, right? So under this material extrusion, FDM technique is there, and it is also known as triple F, fused filament fabrication. So in these type of techniques, we process material means by just raising their temperature, and we extrude the material in the form of wire by using a nozzle. Okay, so I will cover means this particular means processes in detail. Then after we have wet photopolymerization. So here we use material in the liquid form. So here we have two processes, SLA and DLP. Then the next category is the powder bed fusion for polymers and for metals. So the working principle for both the processes are is quite similar, but there are little differences. Okay, so SLS process there, selective laser sintering, and here we have the selective laser melting. And other names of this particular process is the direct metal laser sintering, DMLS, and another process that is the EVM, electron beam melting. Okay, then next category is the material jetting. So here we have two processes, material jetting, and second is the demand on drop. Drop on demand, DOD. So here means we deposit material on the bed surface means in the form of drops. So here means a jet of material is injected on the bed surface in order to create a 3D profile. Then binder jetting. Binder jetting means, so instead of the means part material, we inject a binder. Okay. So on the bed already we have the powder form of the material. So when we inject binder on the bed surface, all the particles join together due to the presence of binder. So in this way, we can easily form the different geometries by using different materials. So as you can see here, we have various additive manufacturing techniques. Those can be used to create 3D profiles. But among all the available additive manufacturing techniques, this material extrusion is very, very popular. Why it is popular? Why this material extrusion additive manufacturing techniques are popular? Because they are available at low cost. So low cost is one of the reason, right? Low cost. And also means low cost means machine you can get the system easily for 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees to 10 lakh rupees. Okay, so the relatively it is available at low cost, right? And also material. Second thing is the material. So material you can get from the market easily. 1 kg material you can get for 1,000 rupees only, right? So there are various reasons, and that's why these material extrusion based additive manufacturing techniques are more popular among the researchers, among the academicians, and among the industry persons. So they are using this technique for the prototyping and some functional part fabrication. So this triple F process, or in short, another name of this is the FDM. So most of the people are aware with this name, FDM. So FDM and triple F both are similar, in principle. But FDM is the word that is used by the Stratasys company. Okay, so we can say FDM is more proprietary word of that is given by the Stratasys company. So that's why we don't use this. Okay, for open source printers, we use this term triple F. Okay, so if I expand this triple F word, triple F, then it is the fused filament fabrication. Fused filament fabrication. So as the name is suggesting, fused filament. So here we consider the filament form of the material. So initially we have a material in the filament form. So filament, as I told you, you can get it from the market. So that filament form of the material can be fed into the liquefier head. So here this is the schematic diagram of the triple F process. Schematic diagram of the triple F. So you can see means if we are having a material in the filament form, then we can easily feed it into the this opening. So here we are having a small opening, right? A small opening. So this is the liquefier head, or we can say the extruder head of the triple F. So we can feed the filament feedstock into this opening by using these rollers. So these rollers rotate in the opposite direction to feed the filament into this liquefier head. So here you can see we are having the heating elements, or heaters are there. So these heaters are used to raise the temperature of this material, or raise the temperature of the inserted filament. So once the state of filament changes, like from solid to the viscous form, then it is extruded from this nozzle. Okay, so nozzle is there. So nozzle means with the diameter 0.4, 0.3, 0.5. So very small nozzle is there that is used to extrude material on the built platform surface. So here we have at the bottom we have a built platform on which we can deposit the material in the form of thin wire, right? So how we create 3D object by using this triple F? So this nozzle means in most of the systems, means different configurations are there, but in most of the systems this nozzle moves in X and Y direction. So you can see here, I mean, suppose if this is a platform, this is a platform. So on this platform, the nozzle moves in X and Y direction. Suppose this is your X and this is your Y. This is your Y. So nozzle moves along the X and Y. So it can move and along the inclined line direction also, or it can move in X and Y direction alone, right? So once one layer is formed, then how the next layer is deposited? This build platform moves in Z direction, or this build platform is lowered in the Z direction. Then after we deposit another layer. So in this way, we get a three-dimensional part from this particular process. So now, what are the advantages? So advantage, as I told you, material is available easily, right? Second is the it is available at very low cost, right? And also means it can be installed in the office environment. So most of the means advantages are associated with this kind of process. But what are the challenges? What kind of challenges we are facing with this process with Triple F? So first challenge is the formation of filament. So the Triple F means process requires the formation of filament. It means material should be in the form of filament. Means suppose if you want to means make an object by using this Triple F process, then you should have material in the filament form. So this is one of the challenge, because formation of filament is not a very easy task. Okay, it's really difficult to get filament with desired shape and desired size. So it requires the formation of filament. Second is the requirement for material with specific mechanical properties. Requirement of materials with specific mechanical properties. It means that it can process the specific materials or special material which are having the desired mechanical property that is required in the case of Triple F. So I will means let me take one example to clarify this particular challenge. So here I am giving you one property, that is the low column strength. Low column strength of elastomeric material cannot be processed with ease by using this Triple F. Low column strength of elastomeric material property, due to this particular property, these kind of materials cannot be processed easily with by using these Triple F processes. So what is the meaning of this low column strength? It means that these kind of materials, these materials are very flexible in nature. So if we try to push, let me go back. Okay, so if we try to push the flexible filament, so if we try to push a flexible filament by using these roller, what will happen? The filament will buckle, or buckling will be there in between these two components. So here, suppose we are having a small opening, and now we are trying to insert the flexible filament into this opening. So what will happen? Here we will observe buckling. This kind of buckling will be there. So the filament will buckle. Filament will buckle between the rollers and the opening, this liquefier opening. So due to this, what will happen? You can see this is the case. This is the case when we are feeding the rigid filament. Rigid means the normal polymer filament. When we are feeding, we are feeding a thermoplastic into this liquefier head of Triple F, then there is no problem. So these are your rollers and this is your filament. So there is no problem in the feeding of this kind of filament. But what happens when we feed the flexible filament or the elastomeric material filament into this opening, then this can be the situation. This is the situation. So buckling may be there. So due to this buckling, we cannot process, or we have to modify our system, or we have to search alternative of this particular process, right? So buckling is one of the main phenomena. So so that's why I am saying the requirement for material with specific mechanical properties. Only the materials who are having which are having the specific mechanical property can be processed by using this triple F. Okay. So means what is the alternative? Means what are the alternative available is to this triple F? So the direct palette printing can be a good option. So if we suppose if we develop a system in which the material form is different from the filament. So different form of the material may be the palette, right? Because materials are available in the palette form easily, because already injection molding machine or systems are there in the market. So they are well established. Okay. So in those systems, we are already processing material in the form of pellets. So if we develop a pellet-based system, then it could give us the better results. Also, it can give the flexibility in the using of different material, right? So direct pellet printing can be a good option. So you can see this is this is a printer, okay, which supports the direct pellet printing. So you can see you need to feed the material in the pellet form. So here we are having an arrangement in which we can feed this material in the pellet form, right? So this is schematically here the direct pellet printing process is shown. So here at the top we are having a motor, then we have coupling, then we have a mechanism to process the material in the pellet form, right? And then this particular extruder head or this special extruder head can be mounted on the 3-axis positioning system. So you can see we have attached this particular extruder head on the CNC positioning system or 3-axis positioning system to create the 3D objects. Okay, so in this way we can perform 3D printing of the different materials. So what are the advantages with direct pellet printing? What advantages is offered by the direct pellet printing systems? So first advantage is the reduced melt solidification steps. Reduced melt solidification steps. So what is the meaning of this particular statement? So meaning of this, because there is no need of filament. There is no need of filament. So we do not need we do not need to convert the material in the filament form, because initially we have pellets, right? Then we convert those pellets into filament form. Then only we can process the material in through the triple F process. But here in the case of direct pellet printing, we can directly process the pellet form of the material. So in this way, we can reduce the melt solidification steps. There is no need to remelt the material again for filament manufacturing or filament fabrication. So this is one of the advantages. Then second is the elimination of the filament extruder system, right? So here we can eliminate the filament extruder system. We can make a different type of extruder system that should be compatible with the pellet form of the material. Third is the support direct recycling of waste material. So if suppose you are having some waste plastic with you, then you can convert the waste plastic into the pellet form, or you can use radders to convert their shape into the pellets. Then you can directly feed that material into a direct pellet printing system to create 3D profiles or 3D objects. So it support means, because there is no need of filament, so it support direct recycling of waste material. So in this way, the reduction in the cost of materials, because recyclable means materials can be processed directly, and also these materials are available for very low cost. So if I compare the pellet form of the material and filament form of the material together for the cost, then you will get pellets for 100 rupees per kg in the market, right? And the filament is available for 600 to 2000 3000 rupees per kg. It depends on what type of material you are procuring from the market. So reduction in the cost of material. So we can reduce the cost of material because we are processing pellets. We are going to process the pellet form of the material, so we can reduce the cost. Then the increase in the number of types of polymer that can be recycled. So here the material library of the additive manufacturing, or for the extrusion based additive manufacturing processes, can be enhanced, because now we have provision to process material in the form of pellets. So in this way, we can increase, or we can increase the size of the material library. Then the reduced embodied energy from eliminating a melt cycle. So this is connected with this statement, this one. This one, first one, because we have already reduced the melt solidification steps. So because we have already reduced the melt solidification step, so additional energy is not required, because additional melting is not required. So it can, in this way, we can save energy, right? Because we have eliminated one melt cycle from the process. Otherwise, suppose we are using a filament form of material, then we have to melt the pellet form of the material again to prepare a filament. So this we have already eliminated from the process. And also we will save a lot of time, eliminating the time required to manufacture filament, because we are not dealing with filament form of the material. So obviously this time all will be eliminated from the system or from the process of product making. So in this way, the production time can be minimized. The production time can be minimized. So what are the possible processing methods we have? If suppose we are planning to make a pellet based additive manufacturing system, then what kind of methods we can use? So first method is the plunger based extrusion. Plunger. Second is the screw based extrusion systems. So plunger means extrusion principle can be used, and also a screw extrusion based system can be used. So here you can see the schematic diagrams of these two principles or these two systems. So in the first one, we use a plunger. So plunger is there. Plunger is the piston, right? So piston, which will move in to and fro direction. So it will move in the downward direction. Then again, it will move toward the upward direction, right? When it will move toward the downward direction, here we will have extrusion, or here we will have extrusion of the material, right? So here in this particular volume, cylinder volume, we can fill pellet form of the material, and then here we have a heater, right? So this heater can be used to raise the temperature of this material. Then we can extrude it extrude it from this small nozzle or tiny nozzle. And the second principle, here we have a different mechanism for processing of the pellet form of the material. So you can see here we have screw and barrel assembly. So here barrel is there and screw is there. So this screw is having the variable depth that is similar to the injection molding, and it can be used to process these granules or pellet form of the material. Okay, so again here we have similar arrangement of heater and nozzle. So from this nozzle we will extrude material in the form of thin wire. So at the bottom stage, the same principle is used, but the material processing techniques are different. Means the principle of material processing is different in these two systems. Now, which one is good? Can you give your idea? Means can you share your thoughts? What do you think? Which one is good in these two? Any participant? Can you share your idea? Means, or can you share a thought? Which one is? Okay, so one answer I am receiving. Yeah, screw type. Screw type. I am receiving one answer from the Kamala Kannan, and so according to his view, the screw type is the most favorable, okay, or is the best among these two. So I will tell you the reasons why the screw type is more is useful as compared to the plunger. So here I have summarized some points. So as you can see, the plunger based systems, they are simple to operate because you need to move this plunger in to and fro direction for the extrusion purpose. So they are quite simple to operate, right? But what is the problem? Discontinuous extrusion of material. Discontinuous extrusion of material makes it ineffective for fabricating the larger objects. Suppose you are planning to make the objects with large size. Large size means large size is there. It means you have to use large amount of material, but you cannot feed that amount in this very low volume, because low volume is there, because small cylinder is there and a small plunger is there, right? So you cannot feed that amount in this particular space. So that's why this problem or this particular issue makes them ineffective for fabrication of the larger parts or larger objects. On the other hand, if you look at the screw based EM systems, then you can feed material continuously because the screw is rotating continuously, right? So suppose the screw is rotating continuously, so you can feed material continuously. So a small amount of material can be processed time to time, and you can extrude material in a continuous manner irrespective to the size of the part. Okay, so in this case you do not need to bother about the size of the part or the amount of the material, because we can feed material in the on the large scale. Okay. So the utilization of screw mechanism with continuous feeding of granulated materials similar to the industrial polymer extruder, because we all are aware with the screw and barrel assembly. As I told you, injection molding processes are already available in the market and they are well established. So people are aware, with the mechanism of a screw and barrel. Okay, so these are people are familiar with this kind of processes or this kind of mechanism. So this one is quite easier to adopt, right? And also the screw based systems allow the precise control over the extrusion process. So precision is there. So precise control is there. So there is a good control on the extrusion process. You can change the speed of the screw. You can change the pressure of the extruder, means within the extruder within the barrel, and then you can means control the extrusion process, right? And also the screw based systems allow some level of mixing. Mixing means suppose you are planning to make a composite polymer composite material, or you are planning to make the parts using polymer composite, and suppose you have a polymer matrix with you, and suppose you are adding a reinforced particle. Reinforced particle may be the carbon fibers, or the nano clay, or any other reinforcement particles may be used. So in the first case, in the plunger based extrusion system, the mixing cannot be done because plunger is not rotating, it is moving, right? So whatever material we have inside this particular cylinder, it will not be mixed together. It will not be mixed together. Only temperature will be reached up to a certain point, then mixing will not be done. But in the case of a screw, because it is rotating at some speed, and so we can mix two or more different materials together. So it allows some level of mixing. So that's why it is more useful in additive manufacturing, because nowadays people are focusing on the composite part fabrication, polymer composite part fabrication. So tomorrow I will cover one lecture on the polymer composite processing in additive manufacturing. So in that lecture, I will explain you how to process a polymer composite material through this FFF. Okay, what are different methods we can use, and also what are different characterization techniques we have. So that's why you can see the screw-based additive manufacturing systems are quite useful and can be explored further. So again, I have some case study on which I have already worked on. So direct pallet printing system was developed by me during my PhD work, and also currently I'm also exploring this area in different direction. So I will show you, those case study to you, and accordingly you can think about the direct pallet printing and their benefits. Okay. So first case study is the in-house development of direct pallet printing enabled additive manufacturing system. In-house development of direct pallet printing enabled additive manufacturing system. So in order to develop a pallet based additive manufacturing system, you can see the schematic diagram of the developed direct pallet printing system. So in this picture, you can see that we have used a existing CNC machining center, because initially we had this particular center with us. So we thought we should explore this particular center for other applications. So that's why we used this 3-axis machining center. And at the center, you can see this is not a machining tool. So at the center, we have mounted a special material deposition tool that was also developed by us in the institute itself. Okay, so here we have a material deposition tool, and which can be mounted on the spindle of the machining center. So you see, here we have enlarged view, right? So spindle is there, and here we have a deposition tool. So it is mounted very easily on the center. At the bottom, we attached a build platform because already we had a machining table. So on that table, we mounted a special build platform, right? So here we have a build platform on which we have deposited the material in the thin wire form, right? This is the actual view of the experimental setup. This is actual view. So the machining center model was the ACE center MB-46 VAE-R. So this machine is from the Okuma, Japan, right? So this was the material deposition tool. So this is the clear picture in which you can clearly see the different components of the machining material deposition tool, right? So we have a hopper, or we can call it funnel, right? At the center we have a screw, and at the top we are having a tool holder. So tool holder is standard tool holder which we use for machining tools. So that is mounted, I mean that is attached at the top of this particular tool. Okay, and here we have some wires, right? So at the bottom we have thermocouple, and here we have wires for heater. So heater, band heater were used to heat this this region, because we were feeding the material from the top, and at the bottom we were extruding the material in the form of thin wire. So as you can see, as I shown you, as I already shown you the components. So the CAD model of those components, and you can see here. So various component like hopper, supporting frame, we have especially made using the water jet machining, right? Then after we have assembled the component of this frame, then barrel is there, screw is there, band heater is there, and nozzle is there. Okay, so by just so these components were fabricated in house, and this was the CNC tool holder that was used directly. Okay, so initially we thought to explore the standard materials, because initially we wanted to see the performance of our system. So we started with the ABS material, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. So that is very standard material for FFF process. So all the process parameters are already known to that material. So we thought we should start with ABS material. Then after we should move forward slowly toward the other material also, which are already not available for the FFF, right? So initially, since we didn't have any idea means how to proceed, and so at that time we started with ABS. So you can see the shape and size of the part, right? So initially we were not able to extrude material in the desired pattern, right? So because we were not able to control the temperature properly, and also various issues were there. So like some issues I am here mentioning. So blockage at the entrance of barrel. So because due to high temperature, a lot of blockage was there. So we were unable to feed material properly, or you can say the lump of material was formed at the entrance where from the material was entering into the barrel. Okay, and also during extrusion we were getting the material we were getting the variation in the diameter. Diameter means, because at the bottom we had nozzle. Here you can see, here we had a nozzle, right? So at the bottom we were facing the problem like the variation is in the filament. So filament means extrusion variation was there, and also material degradation due to excess heating, right? So material degradation was there because we were we observed the different color at different means portion of the part or different region of the part. So material degradation was visible. And also discontinuous extrusion of material. Sometimes we were having extrusion and sometimes we were not able to extrude material from the nozzle due to blockage and other reasons. And also means warpage within the parts. So you can see in this picture, you can see here this particular component is having warpage. Okay, it is not means completely flat. Okay, so due to the uneven heating or cooling, we were facing the lot of challenges. So these are some of the challenges. 330. Okay. And also another problem was the software, because we didn't have any software for the additive manufacturing, because standard machining centers are capable to remove the material. So we can remove material if we are having workpiece, then we can remove material, undesired material can be removed to get the desired geometry. But here principle is different, because in additive manufacturing we make parts by adding material in the form of layers. So we didn't have any software. So we didn't have any software for additive manufacturing. So we developed our own software using MATLAB. So here you can see we merged all the steps like STL import, slicing, toolpath generation, GM code. Okay, so we merged all the necessary steps for generating toolpath, and we developed a user-friendly graphic user interface. So graphic GUI was developed that was very user-friendly. So you can see here we have provided a window on which you can see your STL file, right? So whatever STL file was imported in this software, you can see that STL file in this window. And here we have provided a provision to change the value of process parameters. So 0.1, like here you can see on the screen. So currently it is flashing 0.1 layer thickness. So it can be varied between 0 to 0.1 to 2 mm, right? Then feed rate. Feed rate means at what speed we wanted to deposit material. That was very important factor in the case of additive manufacturing. So feed rate option is provided here. Screw speed option is provided. I think some disturbance is coming. Please mute yourself. I request. Hello. Hello. Yes. Thank you. So since we used a screw-based mechanism, so 60 was the 60 RPM was the speed of the screw, and rust angle that was standard 45. And road gap you can select value as per your requirement, as per your application, and also number of cells. Cells means contour, how many contours you want around the periphery. So number of cells can be varied. 1 to 10 here I have given a number 1 to 10. So you can choose according to your requirement. So some features of the system software you can see here. Import and processing of STL. So import and processing of STL was quite easy in the developed software. Also slicing, then toolpath generation compatible to CNC machining center. So you can see this is the original STL file that was imported in the software. Okay, so different color coding is given to make it more visible. Or okay, then you can see here we have sliced model of the same model which we have imported earlier in the form of STL. So this is sliced data. Okay, so slicing is performed on the STL. Then after you can see here we have generated a tool path. So raster based toolpath was generated in the form of crisscross pattern. So one layer was deposited at 45-degree angle and second layer was deposited at minus 45-degree angle. Okay, so this was the type of tool path. And here, if you look at this code, then you will find a lot of code that are compatible to the CNC Machining Center. Like G00 is there. So G0 we use for rapid movement of the tool. Then we have G01. So G01 is for linear interpolation, right? And here we have M04 because rotation of the screw was required. So that's why we rotated our screw in the anti-clockwise direction. So that's why we have used M04 here, right? So you can see this part program was compatible to the CNC milling machine or CNC Machining Center because we used the standard G and M codes. Okay, so in this way we were able to rotate the screw of the material deposition tool, and also we were able to move the extruder head or the developed material deposition tool in different direction. So some other features you can see of the software. So in the first picture you can see we have used 3 contours like 1, 2, 3, and inside a space or the inner space is filled by using the crisscross pattern. And similarly here means this is another geometry. So here again you can see this model or this program is generated with 2 contours or 2 cells, right? Crisscross pattern again is there, and this is your tensile dogma specimen. This is also again this code is again generated with the 2 cells and crisscross pattern. And this particular means model is, you can see here it is having hole at the center. Okay, center we are having a hole, a square hole is there, a square shape hole is there. So again you can see the software was capable to deal with the different kinds of geometry, whether it is having a solid geometry or it is having a solid geometry with hole. So initially we printed this kind of product. Okay, this kind of these parts were printed initially using EBS material, and you can see the quality of the parts is not that much good, but later on we improved a lot. I will show you some other pictures, okay, of the printed parts. So another case study which we have already is covered using this particular setup, that is the flexible part fabrication using EVA material. So already I have highlighted the challenges of FFF, in which I have already discussed the difficulty with processing the elastomeric material because they are very flexible in nature. So that's why we cannot process those elastomeric material, those flexible material using FFF process. Okay. So that's why we thought to explore our setup or our we thought to explore this particular part fabrication through our setup. So EVA is one of the material that is not available in the material library of FFF, right? But it is used more frequently in various applications. So that's why we started with this EVA material. Okay, we selected this material. So you can see the EVA means ethylene vinyl acetate. The full form of this EVA is ethylene vinyl acetate. So why we have taken it? Because it is flexible in nature. So we extruded this material from our setup. As you can see from the nozzle, we got this kind of profile. Okay, in the thin wire form, we initially explored this material whether it is extrudable or not. So it was extrudable. So we got this kind of thin wire profile in the initial experiment. Then we performed a parametric optimization. So for this material, we optimize the temperature, we optimize the bed temperature, we optimize the screw speed, we optimize the deposition speed. So various parameters were optimized by conducting the study. Statistical analysis were used to optimize the process parameters. So based on those results, a set of suitable parameters was obtained for this particular material, right? So because we find out the range of the different process parameter, then after we try to print some of the parts. So you can see here, means I have compared these parts with this particular point. So here this is one of the part you can see that is made by EVA. Then again it is again another part. Then again another part with hole. Then here a sole basically is what tried with the using this material. And in order to demonstrate the flexibility within the fabricated parts, the one part was fabricated in the form of dog bone, right? And then it was twisted like this. Okay, manually I twisted this. Then you can see the results. You can see the result. There was no problem in the twisting, and we were able to twist it easily. So it shows the flexibility. It shows the flexibility within the specimens. Then another, in order to characterize the flexibility within the specimen, we have gone through the hysteresis test. So what is this hysteresis test? It actually give us the graph between the residual deformation and the deformation percentage. So initially we deform the specimen up to a certain percentage. Then after we release the load, then we record the residual deformation within the specimen. So you can see means when we stretch this these specimen up to 60 degrees centigrade, sorry, 60%, only 1% residual deformation was there. Okay, and similarly for 90%, you can see 9% residual deformation was there. 120, 90.70% deformation was there. So in this way, we have means quantify the flexibility. Okay, so this is one of the tests that is used for flexibility purpose. And in this picture, you can see we observed very good bonding between the rasters. So whatever material we have deposited for the part fabrication, so we found a very good bonding between the raster. So you can see the bonding between this is the contour and this is the raster. These are the rasters. Okay, so you can see the good bonding between contour and rasters and between raster also. So another case study is the flexible electrically conductive composite fabrication. Because we were able to extrude a material, EVA material in the form of thin wire. Also, we were able to fabricate the flexible parts of neat EVA. So we thought we should extend our study toward this direction, because we found a lot of application of flexible electrically conductive composites. Okay. So on this case, this more information about the case study you can find in my publication. So already I have mentioned detail here. So before conducting this study, we try to find out some related research work in the literature. So here first you can see here in the first work, Raymond Save et al. So they used this AAA process, and they used thermoplastic polystyrene material as a polymer matrix. Then filler material was taken, that was the CNF, carbon nanofiber. Okay, and they evaluated property, electrical conductive property. Second is the V et al. They again taken this EVS material as a polymer matrix. Similarly, the Ganesh Sakaran they have taken the PBT and then Lee et al. They again taken the PCl material. So if you look at this literature, then you will find all these materials are rigid in nature. All materials are rigid in nature. So very few studies were available in this domain. Is people have not explored the flexible electrically conductive polymer composite fabrication through this triple F. Because I told you, as I told you already, because there are a lot of challenges when we deal with flexible materials. There are a lot of challenges. That's why people have not explored this particular work through the triple F. So that's why we thought we explore the different application of flexible electrically conductive composite. Then we have fabricated the specimen and tested for the different properties. So what is the need of flexible electric conductive composites? So the applications, you can see the flexible electric conductive polymer composites have increased over the time, because a lot of methods available for the fabrication. So that's why applications are increasing day by day. So you can see they can be used in health monitoring application, displays, pressure sensors, flexible circuit fabrication. Okay. So EVA, as we have explored EVA, so it can be make electrically conductive by embedding various conductive components. So conductive particles may be added in order to make it conductive. Okay. So in order to make it conductive, we use graphite, okay, as a reinforced particle, or we can say the filler particle. So EVA pellet, you can see these are the EVA pellets, and this is your graphite powder. This is the graphite powder. So different weight percentage of these two materials were taken for the fabrication, and this is the methodology which we have adopted for the composite preparation. So initially, in the form of filament, then again re-extruded. Hello. Am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Screen is not visible.
Okay, let me check. I think I thought there was some technical problem. Someone has started recording, that's why. Now, is it visible?
Yes,
Hello.
sir. It is visible now.
So what you are seeing and on my screen, what you can see? Can you
Methodology adopted.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So
Methodology adopted, sir.
okay, ma'am. Thank you. Here you can see here we have printed this kind of profiles, and then after we went for characterization. So SEM and XRD FTIR characterization techniques were used to check the quality of the developed composite. So here you can find more detail in the research paper. Okay, here I'm just giving you a summary. Means what we have what we have conducted under this particular case study. So you can see the EVA and graphite peaks are available in the XRD spectra. So it means the graphite was homogeneously spreaded across the polymer matrix, right? So after characterization of the material, rheological behavior was also tested. So in the rheological behavior, we tested the melt flow rate and the melt extruded diameter, because this is very important in the 3D printing. Because swelling of polymer, or we all know material polymer swells when it is extruded from the nozzle. So that's why we quantify the value of this extruded diameter for different temperature range, right? And for different composition, we have tested this particular diameter. So in order to quantify the melt flow rate, we used a material flow index tester, right? So these are the results. So due to shortage of time, I am going to cover this case study quickly, because I have some other case study which I want to show you. So electrically conductive part fabrication. So you can see here we prepared some of the specimens for the electrical properties testing and mechanical property characterization of the mechanical properties. So you can see the parts which we have made using EVA and graphite, they were also flexible in nature. Okay, but flexibility was less as compared to the neat EVA. I will tell you the reasons. Okay, so for electrical characterization, we used 4-from method, and as per the classical percolation theory, the polymer composite can achieve electrical conductivity when the volume or weight fraction of the filler material is above the specified value. So you can see for the less volume fraction, you can see this is the situation. Graphite particles are not touching to each other. So that's why this polymer matrix is not electrically conductive. But once we keep on adding the reinforced particles into the polymer matrix, then this basically a situation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, here 5 graphite particles are there. So but they are not making any network. But when we increase the amount, or when we increase the fraction of the filler material, then this kind of network is formed within the polymer matrix. So it makes this polymer matrix conductive, right? So in our case, we got this particular point, electrical percolation threshold value at this point, 70-30, right? And we also compared the electrical conductivity of neat EVA than that of graphite filled EVA. So we observed the 539 times improvement in the electrical conductivity as compared than that of neat EVA. So because we felt that the mechanical properties of the specimens have degraded, so that's why we have taken these SEM images or SEM graphs, SEM images for the broken samples. So you can see poor bonding was there because viscosity was increased. That's why the poor bonding may be observed here. So this is one raster, this is another raster. So you can see these kind of holes were available within the specimens. So were observed, right? So you can see these are the small holes are there. So this is the result for tensile strength and elongation head break. So both were degraded when we added graphite particles into the EVA matrix. So another case study which we have attempted, that is the hybrid direct pellet printing and machining system. So since we were using the CNC machining center for additive manufacturing purpose, so we explored the same setup for machining also. So what we did in this area, we developed a hybrid direct pellet printing and machining system. So first we performed additive manufacturing, then we have machined the same part. So you can see here we are fabricating a part using additive manufacturing, and here you can see at the bottom here this one. So you can see machining tool is removing material from the top surface. Okay, so so again we face some problem in the part program generation. So for this, we develop a software for hybrid system. So in this, you can see we have provision for additive manufacturing, and we have the option of subtractive manufacturing. So either you can perform both, or also you can go for additive manufacturing alone. Okay, so here we have provided some parameter. Accordingly, it will calculate. It will means step over can be given, cutter diameter can be given. Accordingly, it will generate tool path. Okay, or less than 90, equal to 90. So different surfaces were considered here means for this software generation. So here you can see the results. So here, if you look at this particular part, then this surface is not that much good, but this is after the machining operation. So before the machining, the roughness was around 19.495 micron, but after machining, it was 2.068. Okay, so in this graph, also CAD/CAM lab, you can see after machining, we have written this CAD/CAM lab, right? So you can see the quality of the job surface. You can see it is having very good quality surface. Then we also explored our setup for large part fabrication, because this is again a problem. Because if you look at the available FFF printers, then you will find very small size FFF printers are there. Okay, because we were using a CNC milling machine in our research, so that's why we thought we should explore this area also. So large part fabrication was attempted because we wanted to see the feasibility, whether it can be done or not. So we thought we increased the nozzle size from 0.4 to 5 mm. Okay, then we attempted some of the shapes. So you can see the size was increased from the small one to the large one. Okay, so you can see the size. So this is the size of the part. So a lot of factors were considered for the large part fabrication. So a lot of research is needed in this area also. Okay, I will give you the idea is how you can start your research in this research work in this area for large part fabrication, and many industries are also working on this. So they are trying to make large size parts. So some of them are working on the construction application. Okay, so they are making homes by using additive manufacturing. So they are attempting this kind of work. Then another case study is on the exploration of Hilbert tool path pattern, because most of the parts were fabricated using raster tool path pattern. So we observed some of the problems with raster tool path. So you can see the delay time was the main factor in the case of raster. So what is delay time? Delay time is the time difference for the nozzle pass between any two adjacent points. So you can consider any point. Here in this example, I have considered these 2 points, 1 and 4. Okay, so I have assigned a number 1 to this point and number 4 to this point. So if you look at the colors, then you will find a lot of difference between these two colors. Why? Because it is showing the temperature difference. So due to this temperature difference, because nozzle is moving in this direction. So suppose if it is 100 mm, so nozzle will move from 0 to 100 first, then let me assume this is 2 mm, then 2, then it will come back along this raster. Okay, so it is again let me say it is 70. So how much distance it is nozzle has traveled? 100 plus 2, 102 plus 70, 172. So you can see because if I divide or if I consider the speed of deposition, then I can easily calculate the time of the. I can easily calculate the travel time. Okay, how much time it has is taken by the nozzle from this point to this point. So you can see there is this time, due to this time difference, we will get poor mechanical property between these 2 points. But if I talk about these 2 points, means because here this nozzle is moving from here to here. So this time difference is very less, or this is very short time. Okay. So it will lead to the uneven properties within the specimen or within the parts. So that's why we thought we should explore another toolpath pattern. So that is the Hilbert curve. So Hilbert curve is quite good because it is having short rasters. So if you look at this on this figure, so it is having the short rasters as compared to the this pattern. So that's why we because we were exploring the new software, we were exploring the new machine, so it was quite easier for us to explore fractal based tool for this Hilbert curve based toolpath. So we developed a software, or we have added this pattern also to our software. So this kind of specimens were prepared in order to see the performance. So you can see the difference in the tensile strength. So the orange one is for the raster based toolpath and the Hilbert based toolpath. These parts are made using Hilbert based toolpath. So you can see the difference. So Hilbert means the part which are made with Hilbert based toolpath, Hilbert curve based toolpath, superior in terms of tensile strength as compared to the raster one. So another means case study, because we thought we were using CNC machine, and CNC machine is almost very costly, right? So we thought we should explore, or we should develop a low cost solution for direct pellet printing. Suppose if you don't have a CNC machine in your institute, then how can you start your research work, or how to proceed in this area? So that's why what we thought, we purchased a commercial ANET 3D printer. So this is available. I mean, this was available in the market for the cost of 20,000 rupees. Okay, so this was purchased from the market, and then we modified it. We have changed its extruder head by the direct pellet printing extruder. So you can see here this is our CAD model, and this is the CAD model of the pellet based extruder head, and here it is the actual pellet based extruder head, right? And this is the setup with final version of the extruder head and the machine. So we printed this kind of shapes initially. So these are the benchmark, and these are the initial results which we have obtained from this particular extruder head. So the simple cuboid is there, right? And simple the primitive shapes we have generated. Then after we have tried some benchmarking models. So in this model you can see the geometries with linear surfaces are there, and also the circular shapes are there. Then slant surfaces are there. So some benchmarking model were also explored through this particular low cost direct pellet printing system. So this is all about from my side about the case studies. Okay, so now I want to tell you some more case study which I found in literature based on the direct pellet printing. So first is the direct waste printing of polylactic acid with universal pellets extruder. So direct waste printing means, because polylactic acid waste was already available with these authors, so they thought to explore, or they thought to use this waste material by using this universal pellets extruder head. So the detail of this paper you can find out means here I have already taken the detail. So Alexandre et al. So they have means carried out this work. So the paper name is the mechanical property of direct waste printing of polylactic acid with universal pellet extruder, comparison to fused filament fabrication. So they have compared this particular means the performance of this particular head with the AAA. Okay, and this paper is published in the Journal of 3D Printing and Additive Manufacturing in 2020. So recently they published this paper. I worked a long back. I started my research work around 2015, but they published this paper recently in 2020. So you can find more detail. So you can see their setup. So they have used a similar setup as we have done. Okay, and their extruder head is different from us. So you can see the parts and the size of the parts, also the quality of the parts. Okay. Another case study which I found is on internet, that is the pellet extruder for composite thermoplastic 3D printing. So composite thermoplastic 3D printing. So one company, that the company name is CEAD, CEAD. So they have developed an extruder head. So this is the extruder head which is developed by them. So nozzle is there, multiple heating zones are there, mounting bracket is there, cooling zone they have provided, material inlet, for material inlet they have provided this kind of structure. Then actuator means motor is there, right? And they have mounted this particular tool or this extruder head on a robot. So robotic arm they have used, and also they are selling their machine with this kind of structure. So different configurations are there. So they are selling. I don't know the price, but you can search about it. Okay. So you can search about CEAD. CEAD. Okay. So you will find a lot of information about CEAD. So here you can see the quality which they are getting right now. So 3D printed molds with polypropylene 30% short glass fiber. So they are mixed PP with 30% short glass fiber. So this is the quality and size of the part. You can see. You can look at the size. You can look at the size. The size is quite large. Compared to the, I think some sort of disturbance is coming. Please mute your mic if anybody is having a mic in unmute condition. Please mute. Otherwise, disturbance comes. So another shape you can see, complex shapes they have printed, they have tried. So you can see the complexity and the size of the product which they are providing right now. And also I have found some commercially available solution for direct pellet printing. For direct pellet printing. So here means different companies, various companies are there. So Juggernaut 3D, Titan Robotics 3D, and the Daisy Design, IT 3D Group, Direct 3D, and Cosine. So you can see their model. You can see the information about their model. Tradesman series, Atlas 1.0, Pulsar, Toolmaker NX Pro, Direct 3D pellet extruder, the Cosine AM 3D printer, and you can see the size, right? So you can have a look of the size of Cosine AM 3D printer. The size is too good. It is it can make a very large size parts. The country of origin, it was USA, Canada, and Spain, Italy, US. So it means the European country and the American country, they are making this kind of printer. No one is from India. So you can work in this area, you can develop your own, or also you can commercialize it. You can sell it in the market. So website already I have mentioned here, so you can find more detail about these printers on internet. And if you are interested in this area, if you want to work in this area, then definitely you will find a lot of information. So what is Furoscope? So considering the recent progress, there is a lot of scope for further development. For the further development of direct pellet printing. So here the combined efforts are required from the material scientists and manufacturing experts. Okay. So here what you can do, you can search new compatible material, and also you can find their applications. Okay. And then also you can come up with the new printing strategies. And also you can attempt for those materials which are not available in the current material library for FFF. So a lot of scope is there, right? And also quality is one of the challenge. We are not competing with the quality. Means we are not able to produce quality. So that's why you can focus on the quality printing of the component. So with this, thank you so much for your attention. If you have any query, then you are most welcome. I would be happy to answer your queries. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Hello?
you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, if any query is there, ma'am, then I can take some queries from the past.
Yeah, yeah. Participants, if you have any queries, doubts, you may ask. Otherwise, you type it in chat box.
Yeah, you can type in chat box. I will read your question from the chat box itself. So you can leave your comment if you want to ask any question. Yeah, I think one query is from the one participant. Can we change nozzle diameter? Yes, we can. We can change nozzle diameter. Okay, you can take the nozzle diameter of 0.1 mm, 0.2. So in the market itself, there are various type of nozzle available. So you can take directly from there, or else you can develop your own. You can fabricate your own nozzle. Another question is solidification between direct injection and filament. Uh, I am not getting what do you want to ask? I mean, what this solidification means? See, the material processing means mechanism is different. Rest is rest is same. Solidification, each and everything is same, right? But the screw type pellet printing system provide more flexibility as compared to the triple F. Right? Solidification depends on material property. If material is same, then solidification will be same.
Mohammed Moiddin, sir, you raised your hand.
Name of the company at PPT slide number CEAD.
You
CEAD.
may
You
ask,
can
sir.
search. I can write CEAD. Company name is CEAD. CEAD. Let me CEAD. I don't know the full form of the company, but the short name is CEAD. Okay. So it is a group, okay, which is providing a lot of solutions. Anyone? Okay, ma'am. I think no more queries
Okay.
are there.
Okay, sir. One person raised his hand. That's why I'm waiting.
Okay.
Mohammed
So
Moiddin.
yeah,
Yeah.
Moiddin.
Sir, you have any queries, you may ask, sir.
Sir, if you have any query, then you are most welcome. You can ask.
Okay, sir. We will
Okay.
wind up, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
ma'am.
Thank you very much for your informative presentation about pallet extrusion process with a lot of case studies. Thank you so much, sir. Tomorrow again we will meet afternoon session, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and attention. So thank you, everyone. So we will meet again on tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thank you. So tomorrow I am going to cover the very interesting topic. If you are working in the area of additive manufacturing, that may be very useful to you, in which I am going to cover the polymer composite processing. Suppose you are working on materials, then how to process, or how to move forward in the direction of part printing. So thank you for your attention, for your queries. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, tomorrow is the last day for our FDP. We will meet by 9:25. First session is Health is Wealth, One Treatment for All Diseases by Mr. S. Saravana Prabhu from Art of Living.